Bo just jamming backstage to our awesome music.
God, I love it.
Yep. From our buddy, friend of In Between Media, wrote that for us, custom. It's a beautiful thing. He does most of our music drops. Fantastic. Want to shout out Nate. Thank you for giving us those for the entire season. And sadly, guys, this is our last golf show of 2021.
We already made our money. It's good to go now.
We're actually retiring after this because we've made so much money.
It's not our last drinking show, though.
Well, no.
I hear the Brinks truck backing up. I got to run. I'll see you guys later.
Right. So just real quick, I want to say, Connor, it has been a pleasure to get to do this with you, man. Like, so cool. For anybody who might be watching or listening the first time, I've known Connor for about 16 years, and the fact that we're now getting to do this is just really cool. And the guy underneath me here, Mr. Bo McBigtime, it's been an honor to have you on, man. I wanted to do a show with you for like a year, and now here we are, and I'm stoked to get to see you every week.
The guy underneath me.
The guy underneath. God. Well, I think everyone knows this isn't a family show. So if you're still awake at this hour watching this with your kids, I don't know what to tell you, man. Earmuffs.
So despite being underneath you, I'm still atop.
Bo's a bear. We can tell.
I give the best hugs.
That's true.
I imagine, and I cannot wait to get one of those hugs. So as sad as I am that this is our last show, this will not be our last show together in 2021. And we'll talk about that. We'll have some announcements here over the next couple of days about what we have going on. God, I can't talk. It's my third show tonight. We're going to have an announcement coming up about what we have going on for the NFL season, and it's going to be awesome. But for tonight, we have whiskey and golf, guys.
Nate, we're going to have a full-on role reversal, too, because like I know about a tenth as much about football as you do. So,
who said we were doing anything with football?
It could have been. I could have been talking about European football. Who knows? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Australian rules football. It could be. I don't know. We'll see. We'll be on at 3 a.m. here, but it'll be like noon there. It'll be fine. Brad knows.
It's the best time to be drinking.
Or the worst. Just depends on how you look at it. So this week we have the Tour Championship. It's the end-all, be-all, the Grand Poobah. And we have this beautiful stuff. 4 Roses Bourbon.
How many? How many roses?
Quattro.
4 of them.
Yeah, it's
or as you wrote in the show sheet, 4 noses.
I changed that before we went live. Thank you very much.
You do nose the whiskey. And Short Producing, I'm sure he has his own whiskey poured, so he can do one nose for each of us. 4 noses. On the
4 noses. There we go. 4 bros, 4 noses. Yeah. Be weird if one of us had 2 noses or not a nose. I don't know. I digress.
Big enough for 2.
All right, guys. So we're talking Tour Championship, the Grand Poobah. We're talking 4 Roses because it's delicious. It is my wife, Jen, who you all probably know and like better than me. It's her favorite new whiskey. So I'm stoked to talk about it. Okay, guys, I just
put up Craig. Yeah, put Craig up. Four broses.
Four broses. I love it. There's gonna be a GIF coming soon, right?
Yes, that's what I was just gonna say. Is I expect a Craig GIF off of Four Broses now.
It has to happen. Get
right on it, Craig. He's probably already working on it.
You know he will. All right, guys. So what should we do first? Probably bourbon. Let's talk about the bourbon.
I'm drinking.
I'm drinking already too, but let's talk about what we're drinking. So, guys, tonight we have Four Roses bourbon. I'm going to give my little spiel from, as Bo said earlier, the plaque in the on the tour of the museum. At the distillery. So, Four Roses actually traces its production all the way back to the mid-1800s, which is pretty cool. It was the top-selling bourbon in the United States in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s until Seagram's discontinued its production in the United States, which is I still don't understand why that would have happened. But they moved it overseas to the UK and Japan, and that was the only place you could get it until 2002 when, ironically, Kirin Brewing Company out of Japan purchased Four Roses and brought it back to the United States. So there you go. There's your tour of the museum.
Thank you. Enjoy your night.
How many roses?
Quattro.
Any word on why they call it that?
So there was a story about a proposal, I believe. And Bo, you sound like you know.
I'm going to hang it out. I'm just going to hang that carrot out for you. And
it was said that he proposed to his then girlfriend. And she said, if my answer is yes, I will come with a rose. And she actually came with a corsage with four roses on it to signify that, yes, she really wanted to marry him. Thus the name of the bourbon. Four Roses. Oh. And if y'all didn't know, by the way, Conor got married last weekend. This guy right here.
Game over.
We're all married men now up in this.
Yeah,
so
ladies.
There we go.
My ring is tungsten, so I took it off. It's hanging on. It's next to. It's on the counter.
But we're going to lose a lot of viewers now that we're all taken.
Yeah, my inbox is going to stop blowing up.
Yeah. Did you delete your OnlyFans account, Conor?
Not yet. I'm just going to go to a little more tame show.
No. All he did was add another tier to it.
Yeah, the good stuff's behind 3 paywalls now. So
perfect. All right, guys. Oh, let's talk the bourbon, because I know you two both said that you like the higher end of the Four Roses, but you don't care for the base of the Four Roses, which is the one that I really happen to like quite a bit.
Yeah. So I don't know. For me, this one, like, I don't know. It's a little higher rye content on their base, and all of their stuff actually. But I mean, on their base, it is marketed as a little higher rye, and I just, my whole thing about it is I don't really think that does anything for it. Like, I think that as a standalone, like more of a traditional heavy corn bourbon, I think it's all right. But then with the rye, I think the rye just doesn't present that well. Like, as a matter of fact, when I drink it, I get mostly like the honey, and like a little more of that. It actually even has like a honey mouthfeel to it. If I get anything out of the rye, it's more on the like bitter citrus type of notes. It's more of like a lemon or like an orange zest. And so like that's where, like, I think if I wasn't going into it thinking it was more of a high rye, I probably would like it more. But it doesn't nail the rye part for me. However, as a mixer or as like a base to a cocktail or something like that, I mean, I think it's probably got some versatility there. It's kind of an odd one to me. Like, it just doesn't present the way that I want it to.
So that's interesting it's interesting that you say that, because I get what you're saying, where the rye is very minimal in it. So you feel like it almost doesn't provide anything, but I feel like it provides for my palate, just enough of what I want. And it's not overwhelming. I've been drinking a lot of bullet rye lately, and that can be a little bit overwhelming on the back end as a rye. This is more of I like the mellow qualities of it. Bo, you've got to have something to say about this.
Yeah, so Four Roses has a pretty unique setup. They have 10 unique recipes for bourbon. based on 5 different yeasts that they've created themselves, and then 2 mash bills. And one mash bill B is a higher rye. It's 35% rye with 60% corn. And then mash bill E, which is more of a mellow corn-based, like 75% corn, 20% rye. And then the other 5% of both is malted barley. So a lot of similar notes, but they base everything they do based on these 10 recipes. And what I have is the small batch select, which is their top offering. It's usually $45 to $55 a bottle. And it's a mixture of batches 1 to 5, 6, 7, and 10. And really what it does is it brings it's the medley that they've created, the combination they've created that appeals to the most palates. So where you get a lot of the rye spice, the original Four Roses is all 10. It's a blend of all 10. And so that's why you get a little bit more of that spice from the rye, because it's kind of overwhelming the fruit that you get. But the small batch select being really selected based on the recipes that match well together, it's like a cherry bomb. It's like cherry with a little bit of rye spice and a little bit more of the, like, your different floral notes with fruit. It pairs so well with dark chocolate cherry ice cream or gelato. Like the other day I had one of those Talenti gelato cups you get at the grocery store, and it was dark chocolate cherry, and I paired it with a pour of Four Roses small batch select, and it was dynamite. Like, we're talking like party in your mouth. So I'm doing the small batch select because I do like the way it really accentuates the fruit. And then, of course, it's got the honey and the vanilla that pretty much every good bourbon will have. So a really nice fruit and floral with the rye spice kicking it up a little bit. It's 104 proof, which is right in that sweet spot. It's not like overly hot. It's not overly mellow. It's right in that 95 to 105 range that a lot of bourbon drinkers appreciate. So it's a great pour. It's one that I keep on hand quite a bit.
And I've had a few Four Roses, like single barrel selections just around town and things like that. I mean, they do make some phenomenal stuff. They, like, honest to God, it's really, really good.
Really
I
good.
just I don't know if it's with the base, if it's not aged enough or what, because it's it's got the minimum of 5-year note to it. Like, I don't know if it just doesn't get enough of that char.
All their stuff is 6 years or more. But what they have is the blend of all 10. It kind of mutes everything because not one of them stands out above the rest. And because when you leave out when you leave out 4 of the 10 of the small batch select, it's leaving out 4 of the harsher ones. So it's just because the original yellow label that's $20, it's all 10 just blended together, mass produced. And it's not bad. It's just like when you compare single barrel, like I had a single barrel number 2, I had a single barrel number 1. They're both phenomenal. Even I had a single barrel 8, which I'm not a huge fan of because it's not even in the small batch select. But it was still good because you knew exactly based on that barrel what it was going to taste like. Being the blend of all 10 is just kind of like, okay, that's their base offering. They have a ton of it on hand, and it's not going to be very specific. And I'm the kind of person who likes to seek out certain flavor profiles with the bourbons that I buy. And I mean, like Conor said, the blending and mixing with a cocktail, it's a damn good one. It's probably even good on the box, but I typically don't drink anything other than neat or in a Manhattan or old fashioned.
Yeah, and I think doubling back on like the base though too, like really driving home the point that like I think it's like unassuming enough and approachable enough that like you could pour it and give it to almost anybody, which is something I do like about it. I just, again, if you're going into it thinking it's going to have more of those rye notes, it's probably a misnomer. I think a little bit.
It's just spice.
Yeah,
it's just going to make it. It's going to make it spicy, and that's about it. It's not a lingering rye spice. It's more like, hey, there's rye spice, and then where'd it go?
Yeah, it's gone. Yep. Nope, I agree. The thing about it for me, like I hear what you're saying, and like really, Bo, like, okay, so you said what, $40 for the barrel
45,
selection?
45 to 55, and usually you can get the single barrel for 30 to 35 and the small batch for 25 to 30.
See, and that's a reasonable price point for a higher end bourbon, if you ask me.
It is.
And I mean, and for the base, just straight Kentucky straight, it's $18.99 here, and it's no Blanton's, it's no Angel's Envy, EJ Taylor, it's none of those. Taylor,
not pretending to be either.
That's the thing; it's not pretending to be. It is what it is, and if you're looking for a reasonable, affordable bourbon to drink where it's not going to break the bank, I mean, for me, the base is really good for that. I hear what you guys are saying.
Well, if we liken it to something else that we've done too, like the Old Forester line is similar in that. Like I'm not a huge fan of their base. I just like it doesn't do really anything excellent. But like as you go to the 100 proof and then you go to the Whiskey Row series and you kind of go through the whole like similar mash bills, different tactics in like implemented for the aging process or the proofing process, all those things. As you go through that whole line, and I think there's 8 in total, if I remember right, like as you go through the whole thing, you know, it's just a progression. So what I'm getting at with Four Roses base, which is what we're drinking, is I think it's a gateway drug into some really good bourbon as you go through their family.
Hey,
so,
say perhaps to drugs, kids.
Not all drugs are illegal.
And not all of them are that bad. I mean, you obviously have ones you have to avoid. Obviously.
I mean, definitely stay away from crack and meth.
Yeah, don't do those things.
Crack is whack. Yeah.
But if it's something that's good, like bourbon, you can get away with that. Like if you're just sipping bourbon and feeling a little buzz, you don't have to get wacky with it. It's just, it tastes good. It makes you feel good. And there's nothing wrong with it.
And lawyers, doctors, and journalists all drink it in their office. If TV is correct, which we believe, I'm assuming it is, they all have a bottle of whiskey or scotch in their drawer or in a decanter.
If Hemingway wrote about it, then I'm going to drink it.
There you go. You must love absinthe too, then.
Yeah.
We'll do a whole European absinthe show. That'll be a trip. So anyway,
send you a little wormwood. You can pour it over.
Oh man,
I'm right. Let's get wacky.
Oh boy, that would have to be
a Green Fairy.
A 24-hour 19th hole podathon. Not for charity. You guys just get to watch us be super
entertainment.
Pure entertainment.
Should add a camera at my wedding, man. Same effect.
Oh, guys. All right. So I think maybe we should talk some golf.
Yeah, I think it's going to be less exciting than the whiskey, but we'll give her a try.
Maybe. So this week we have the Tour Championship, which is the end-all, be-all of the FedEx Cup here. It's at East Lake Golf Club in Hotlanta, Georgia.
The A.
Hotlanta.
It's in the A.
It's in the A. So, as anybody who's watched this show knows, this is the point where I pretty much completely stop talking. I love golf. I do watch golf, but I shouldn't. I don't know DFS golf like these two gentlemen do. These guys know what they're talking about. So let's get into it. Connor,
if our producer's short needs to throw up a graphic, you can just use your window.
Yeah, that's probably best. Take me off the screen completely. I don't even know why I'm here.
Perfect.
Oh, I love you, Nate. All right, so East Lake Golf Club, rather, in Atlanta, Georgia, has been the permanent home to this tour championship since 2005. Your last winner was DJ, who won by 3 strokes. 2019, you had Rory, who's actually won here twice and has not finished outside of a T8 in the last 5 years. You can see what I'm doing there, setting that up.
Hint.
It's a par 70. It's about just a little over 7,300 yards, 30 players, no cut. Maybe the interesting thing about the way that they've structured the Tour Championship for the last few years is that it's a tiered stroke advantage. And so based on your FedEx Cup point standing, so Patrick Cantlay, for instance, is going to be starting the tournament at 10 under, and everybody's playing catch up from there. So it kind of tiers back from there. Finau's at 8 under, Bryson's at 7. I won't go the whole list, but here's a stroke advantage based on where you're currently standing in those points. So that's something to know a little bit. Where that impacts your DraftKings scoring is that everybody is going to start with the points for the position that their finish would be. So Cantlay is going to start with first place points, but the second that he drops out of first place, he loses those points. So at the end of the tournament, whoever finishes in first is still going to receive those points, and the person who started in first is going to lose those points, if that makes sense. It's a little confusing.
Yeah. I get it.
I think I explained it well.
Yeah, I mean, you have basically everybody in the, I think only the last 5 to 8 players out of the 30 start at even par. The rest of them start at somewhere under par based on their 5. You said
last 5. Yep.
The bottom 5, the 26 through 30, start with even par, and the rest of them start with some number under par based on their standings in the FedEx Cup. This is a limited field event. It's the smallest field event of the entire season. And the winner at the very end gets $15 million, which is big money no matter who you are. These guys are typically, even your best winners are going to win 3, 4, 5 million in the season, maybe a little bit more. And then your guys that barely got into this tournament, like Van Rooyen, after his big final round, it's going to be more than he's going to be making in his entire career to date if he ends up winning the 15 million. And so, yeah, like Sven says, it's 30 guys. They're all priced pretty widely apart for DraftKings. So it's going to come down to picking basically the people who, if you have 6 roster spots, you're going to have to pick pretty much 6 of the top 10 to win any money on this.
It's interesting though, because that actually did not hold true last year. Like the number one or the optimal DraftKings lineup did not have Dustin Johnson in it. And he won the tournament. So
he had the biggest advantage too.
No, he didn't. I don't believe Dustin Johnson didn't start at first, did he?
Yes, he did.
Okay, I'm thinking of Rory's year. I think it was JT started in first that year.
So DJ wasn't in the optimal lineup because he already had a big advantage, and he ended up holding on to win, but he started to give it away at the very end. And he didn't have the lowest, but anywhere close to the lowest stroke score for the 4 rounds because he already had a bigger gap.
I just looked at it too before we came on. I can't think of who it was, but it was
Xander Schauffele.
I think at 102 or something like that. Point wise, 102 points.
Yeah. So Xander Schauffele shot the lowest score of the 4-round tournament, but because he was behind DJ to start the tournament, DJ won the FedEx Cup.
Finau.
I love Finau.
Who doesn't?
He's such a good guy.
Great guy.
So all of that, I think, kind of segues nicely into I don't think that there's an actual archetype that is going to perform better than anybody else here. I think it's actually a really fair course, really fair setup. Accuracy is going to be king, but outside of that, I mean, I don't think long and accurate is any different than being short and accurate. Is all I'm saying. So I think accuracy is king. I think some of the things that I definitely looked at were fairways in regulation, greens in regulation, the ability to scramble if you do miss greens. I did look at DK points because, as Bo and I both just said, you can have a guy who doesn't start in the top 5 that needs to be in your optimal lineup at the end of the day, just based on how he scores throughout the week. So, I mean, those were kind of the key ones. It's accuracy, and score points. So that was really all I looked at.
Keep the ball in the short grass and save par where you can. Because this course, if we're going to call it anything, it's going to be fast. It's going to be hard as a rock. The greens are going to be fast. The fairways are going to be fast and undulating. That's why accuracy is so premium here, because if you land it and it rolls, it's probably going to roll through the fairway or the green. So you got to be a kind of a high ball flight accurate player, which is, I mean, some of the best golfers in the world are that type of player. which is why DJ was so successful last year. This is why Rory was so successful twice here. High ball guys who can hit accurate shots if they're making the right calls. But yeah,
the other thing about those two guys too that goes with like some of the Bryson narrative and things like that, like the rough here is super deep typically. Like it's pretty friggin' brutal. So if you got
too, so it just sinks down.
Yep, exactly. So guys like, historically Brooks would fall into that category too. I don't know how his knee is holding up and all that, but I mean, if you got strong, accurate guys, I mean that's probably the thing. If they hit the rough, they can dig it out, they can get out, they're not going to lose a lot of distance off of that approach shot. Those are guys that you got to like this week.
Yeah, I grew up playing Bermuda courses here in California, and it's the rough. If they grow it out even 2-inch rough with Bermuda, you could walk right over your ball, but because it doesn't support, it's more ground level and it gets fluffy. It's extremely hard to even see the top of your ball, and then on top of that, getting down to the ball with a shot is extremely difficult. And like you said, getting down through the ball with the club is difficult because that grass grabs your club as it goes through. And so it's going to be accuracy at premium. If you're missing too many fairways, whether you're strong or not, I think you're going to be in big trouble because of how fast the greens and fairways are. Trying to put spin on shots out of the rough is going to be impossible. And it's going to be hard to overpower a course that's par 70. There's only 2 par 5s on the whole course. And so getting to lots of long par 4s, lots of long par 3s, and then very few birdie opportunities. This course is set up to be a championship, and I love it. I love the challenge that it presents because it's the polar opposite of what we saw in Baltimore last week with the BMW, where we knew that the long hitters were going to just destroy that course, and the short hitters were going to be like hitting 180 into a short par 4 because they're just not long enough. Like Cantlay won because the dude made every putt he looked at within 40 feet. He made more feet of putts than he had in like 4 tournaments before combined. And it's crazy that Cantlay's ended up winning that whole tournament because he literally made everything. And his weak spot, which is approach game, was completely overcome by making all those long putts.
Totally.
So, guys,
I got nothing else to add to that. That was spot on.
Are we ready to move into our picks?
Pick it.
All right. So we're doing a little bit differently this week. Instead of doing our normal tiers, because it's such a small field, we're looking at only 30 players and no cut. We've got Bo and we've got Connor. And we've got Connor and we've got Bo. And we've got each with the top 4 this week. So that's how we're going to play it. You guys are coming to the table with your top 4. I hear our producer in the back, the one and only Third and Short, has a graphic for us for our top 4. We're going to start. Let's start with Bo. He decided. Let's go.
Yeah.
So we've got Bo's top 4 coming up here.
So
Bo's got his own top 4 coming up here. It's not a we. We're not a we, apparently. That's what I'm being told.
Why does Sungjae always look so much fatter than he actually is, too?
Camera adds 10 pounds, man.
Well, he's got a big forehead, and I feel him. I feel him. Big forehead club, 5-head club. It really is tough to hide that because the camera adds 10 pounds, the forehead adds another 10, and then it's out of control after that. So the reason why I have these top 4 is because all 4 of them are playing lights out great right now. And if you're going to be winning $15 million, one of these 30 guys is going to win $15 million on Sunday. And I'm going to want 4 guys that are red hot. And then the other 2 that I fill my roster out with are going to be guys that I just think have what it takes to put points on the board, to not make a bunch of bogeys, because bogey avoidance on this course is absolutely essential. And so Sungjae Im, I mean, we saw him make a charge on the weekend last week, and that course really didn't set up for Sungjae. I mean, he's not a long hitter, but he's extremely accurate. And so I saw this as an opportunity where I didn't have Im on my radar last week because he really didn't fit the course. And since he played so well on a course that didn't even fit him, I'm like, the dude's hot. If you're hot and you're a professional golfer right now, it doesn't matter what kind of course it is. You're going to make good shots. You're going to score. And Sungjae M backs himself into a 1 in 30 chance of winning $15 million on a course that fits his game like a glove. We're talking one of the straightest hitters in the PGA Tour, driving accuracy, approach accuracy. He's at the very top of both of those. And I love his game because he doesn't get shaken. He doesn't. The guy just he's ice cold, ice water in his veins all the time. And his backswing's slow, which is really cool. Like you feel like he's joking with how slow his backswing is, but he flushes his irons, flushes them. And so, I mean, he's the guy that stood out to me as a mid-priced option that I'm not going to avoid by any stretch. And he's going to be in all my lineups because this guy's hot and he's perfect for this course.
Yeah, and he's been hot for a little bit too. I mean, maybe not placement wise, but I mean, over the last 94 rounds, I'm just looking at some stats right now. Like he's not losing anywhere. And really over the last like 10, 15 starts, I don't think last 10 starts, he hasn't missed a cut. I mean, not that the cut matters here, but just goes to show you he's been consistent. So.
Yeah. And to round out my other three, John Rahm, he's just due. The dude is too good. He's set up for this course too, because he doesn't have a weak spot in his game. We said that last week when he made a charge. He kind of fizzled on Sunday, didn't make enough birdies to stay up at the top. But his game is good. He's a long hitter, but he's a very straight hitter. He's one of the best ball strikers we've seen in a decade. And if he's going to be even hitting long irons or fairway metals off the tee, he's going to be in play. He's going to be longer. He's going to be more accurate than the rest of the world-class golfers around him. And he's starting off pretty close to the top too. So he has a good chance to make a bunch of pars and string a couple birdies together. And he's already got a head start on most of the field. So Rahm is probably my best spend up option. And then the other two guys are guys that I've been playing just about every week because they're two of my favorite golfers to root for. Colin Morikawa, shout out Northern California. He's a Cal Bear. The guy's, again, just like him, one of the best ball strikers on the PGA Tour, flushes every iron shot, very straight driver of the golf ball, not overly long, but he's not short either. He's right in that sweet spot where the course fits his eye, the course fits his game, and he's a damn good golfer that's playing out of his mind well right now. And, of course, who doesn't love Abraham Answer?
I just love the name.
He is the answer. And Viva Mexico. Abraham's playing out of his mind the whole season. He's been at the top of leaderboards, and he's fun to root for. He's a great golfer, a great dude, and he's, again, starting very close to the top. Good head start, and, again, straight hitters. So you look at all the accuracy metrics on the PGA Tour for the whole season, and you see Abraham Answer. It's alphabetical, or based on how good he is, he's at the top.
If you listen to Mayo at all, he calls him the Mexican Allen Iverson.
El Answer.
I love that name.
El Answer.
All right, gentlemen, are we ready to move on to Conor's four?
Yeah, because I really can't. I can't fight with Bo on any of those. I mean, they're
because you love them. You know, I've been on fire with my picks lately. I mean, I'm on a 2-week winning streak against Conor. So, I mean, I'll take 2 in a row anytime because before that it was kind of ugly.
That's the thing is, guys, if you're not listening to what these two gentlemen are telling you about DFS golf, all the fun of the bourbon tasting aside, we're giving you winning advice every week. These guys are giving you winning every week. Don't forget that. When 2022 comes, most weeks, we're doing the best we can, but you guys are hitting on a fair number of players every week. So when 2022 season comes around and we're regrouping for the Masters and we're hopefully in person doing a show from a bar in Sioux Falls together, having drinks, tune in because we're going to help you win money.
All the money.
Our picks are hotter than than
Your
Patrick
hot
Cantlay's
sauce.
putting right now. It's
Hotter than your hot
box.
sauce.
It's hotter than Patrick Cantlay's putter last week.
All right, guys. So that said, little PSA there for anybody who watches this at a later time or is watching now. Let's get into Connor's picks. What do you think?
Ooh. Sergio again. I should have known.
You're gonna love him.
Dude,
I do love him this week, but you put your picks out first, and so I was like, there's no way I'm letting him put Sergio and then also putting Sergio.
Sergio has the best smile of the group. So if this was a smile competition, he definitely wins. Of those four, he was the only one actually smiling. So
I like the Irish smile of Rory McIlroy.
I do have to cast a few stones at you though before I get into these. You roasted me on Sergio. You roasted me on Sam Burns.
Uh-huh.
How'd they do? They're
better than I thought. Sergio, the first 3 rounds was predictably good, and then the 4th round he was predictably Sergio, and that's why
he scored like 120 DraftKings points.
Yeah, no, he did better than I thought. Sam Burns, I didn't hate Sam Burns as much. Like, I'll give you Sergio. That was a great pick. I didn't see that coming at all. Sam Burns, I was like, yeah, he has it in him. I just didn't think Sergio had it in him.
No, that was definitely.
But how did your boy Charlie do? I was looking for Charlie, and I had to scroll down too far, and my page wouldn't even refresh down that far.
Presumptively, he probably killed it at the bar after he got done playing. I would assume. Yeah, that one was maybe not such fire, but hey, Sergio, deep dart. We haven't hit a ton of those, so that was a good one.
Wasn't that your last call too?
It's my last call. So yeah. He stays off the island, and I like the leverage play with Sergio a little bit, like that. Like or not the leverage, the value play rather. At $5,400, Sergio proves time and time again in a no-cut event that he's gonna score DraftKings points, and that's all I really care about. Like, there's a bunch of nutty shit that Sergio does on a golf course that you're not going to sit and say that he's the artist he once was. But for our purposes, he's been on a tear and he's scoring points. And so at $5,400, I don't care how he finishes. Just make me some birdies and bunches and go home. Like, I don't expect him to win. So I think he's a really good value at $5,400. And he may be normal Sergio and be horrible, but it's a good price. Probably my favorite play, and it'll be of no surprise, but for good reason. I really do like Rory again this week. And I know I sound like a broken record with this, but he actually is on the uptick. Yeah, I know, but again, he finished 4th last week, and I think somewhat quietly. I mean,
you weren't on him. You would have been really loud about him if you were on him.
I heard a rumor he threw a 3-wood onto a freeway during a practice round, so he was being loud enough. But no, like here's the big thing that I really like about Rory right now is the off the tee game is back, and that I think was such a critical thing that he lost for a period of time. And it's been about 10 rounds that he's been overperforming in that metric again. And we are looking for guys that are good drivers of the golf ball here, that are going to be accurate, going to be long if they can be. And I think that's Rory. And the thing that I think is crazy is he's typically a stellar approach player, and he hasn't been the last 2 weeks. And I mean, last week with losing strokes on approach, he still finished 4th. I mean, so I think there's a lot of things to say that he's on the upswing. His putter came back. His around the green game was solid. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot that Rory didn't do last week. He just didn't win. And this is something that we talk about with Rory all the time. If it were any other player and I was standing here saying, hey, he played well last week, he finished 4th, kind of some tough breaks here and there, but the game was trending up, you guys would be like, yeah, it's a good value. It's a good value at that price, especially. He's going to come in lower ownership than the top tiers. So Rory's probably not going to be able to win. I mean, he's starting at 2 under, but I do think he always scores tons of points.
Well, he's a birdie making machine. and he might have that double, triple bogey once a day, but really doesn't hurt you that bad in this setup.
Absolutely. And as well as I do, and bias aside, this is somebody that really, if he puts it all together, actually could make a run at coming back and winning it. I mean, it's not impossible. I've seen Rory go absolutely nuke.
And you have 4 days to catch up. You catch up 3 shots the first 2-3 days, and all of a sudden Cantlay and Rahm are hearing footsteps, because on this golf course, it's not forgiving at all. That's the thing, is that you can score low if you're on fire, like Rory has been twice here, or like DJ was last year, or like Schauffele was last year. You get hot on this course, and you can put some distance between you and the field really quick, because there's some big numbers to be had on this course as well. There's some big nuclear holes that even the best golfers are gonna have a double or triple bogey pop up on the scorecard just about every day, and it's going to be avoiding those. Whoever wins is going to be the one that puts some birdie strings together and avoids the blow up hole that this course is very capable of, especially on 18. Like that last par 5 is gnarly. Like it's like there's 2 par 5s on this course, and neither one of them are a gimme birdie. They're both really tough. Like they're rugged par 5s that challenge even the best players to reach into and then put themselves in position to score. So they're going to have to make it up on just solid golf all 4 days. And that's why I love this event so much, because you only have 30 guys that they're going to be duking it out. It's going to be scoring. It's going to be back and forth. The sweat on DraftKings is going to be gnarly, because the scoring is going to fluctuate from minute to minute. It's going to be hard to stomach. Like, you're going to have to be popping Tums all 4 days to even look at your DraftKings app, because like I remember last year I played this event and it was just up and down like crazy. And I think I cashed out 5-1, which is not bad. I was happy with my finish. And 5-1 is not what you're looking for in tournament play, but it's a win. But I think I was 100-1 up, and then I was down and at 0 at multiple times all 4 days. That's how much this tournament fluctuates.
Oh, it swings like crazy. I mean, it's a fun sweat for sure.
What are you gonna do? It's fun. It's action, and my 4 guys are gonna do better than your 4 guys.
I mean, probably I got 2 more. Dustin Johnson, like DJ last week, like him again this week. I think he was showing some pretty good signs of life last week, and it's not like that guy's been playing as bad as people think. I mean, he's been competing pretty consistently since June. I mean, his
B game is better than everybody else's A game. So,
and like if I asked you like how you thought Dustin Johnson was playing, you'd probably be like, nah, he's playing fine. But then you go and look at his finishes. I mean, he was 10th in the Palmetto, 19th in the U.S. Open, 25th in the Travelers, 8th in the Open, missed the cut at the 3M, 10th at the St. Jude, missed the cut at Northern Trust, 6th at the BMW. So I mean, it's just like you just run down his performance. The guy is playing well, just not winning
for him. Well, yeah. Not for him. Like if you put that against anybody else's name, pretty much not the world number 1, you're gonna be like, oh, dude's playing really well. Yeah. But if you put it next to DJ's name, it's like, man, he could do better. Like, that's not fair. The dude's A game is like meteorically above everybody else's, and his B game is like, oh, he's top 10 every other week. Okay.
Well, and that's the thing too, is I think that he really does kind of fly under the radar a lot of times, because it just seems like the media has kind of forgotten about him. Like, you just don't see that many Dustin Johnson shots anymore. And so it is wild. I mean, and I like watching Dustin play.
If I was behind the ropes watching a tournament, that's the first person I'd want to follow, because I just like, even on TV, the sound his drives make is incredible. Like, it's not like anybody else's.
He's just like silky smooth walking around the course too. He's just got that strut to him. He's just he's
tall and lanky and doesn't give a fuck. It doesn't change. His mood doesn't change. Like, he's literally Lake Placid, tall, lanky. Up, I made a bogey, whoop-de-doo. Made an eagle, whoop-de-doo. Like, I'm just playing golf.
Damn, man.
Playing golf.
Like, missed another putt.
He might crack a smile if he wins.
Might, or he might not know where he is.
No, he doesn't have to though. He's the most gifted golfer that I've seen since Tiger, and that that doesn't mean
that's high praise.
But it doesn't mean he's the best golfer. It means he's the most gifted. Like he could roll out of bed on any given day and shoot in the 60s. And like nobody else can do that. Nobody else can do what DJ does. And when DJ's locked in, there's nobody close to him. And that's the hard part for us, is trying not to forget how good and how gifted he is as a golfer.
No, and that's yeah. So my last one's Patrick Reed, and this is again, this is just big game hunting. And like with Patrick Reed, he needs to perform here if he wants any shot at playing on the Ryder Cup. And I like the narrative to it, because Reed plays the best when he's got the pressure on him. And I think that Reed has a good short game, has a good approach game, can be accurate with the driver if he figured it out. Probably a little tough since he's been in the hospital with pneumonia for, however long, but I think he knows it's go time, and there's probably no one vying for a spot on the Ryder Cup team that wants it more than Patrick Reed does. And so I'll trade in some stats for some passion this week, and I'll roll with some Reed too. So
what Patrick Reed needs though is an IV, because he was just in the hospital 2 weeks ago.
Dude, I was on his Instagram earlier. I mean, he looks fresh. Hey, look good. Look a little lighter too. Maybe get the club around faster.
Well, all I know is that in Atlanta and in September, it's not cool. It's not dry. It's hot and humid. And I think if you have any ace in the hole, it's that Patrick Reed's from Georgia. And so he's probably used to this. He probably has played East Lake 1,000 times. The dude's home course is Augusta National. He played at Augusta State. It's like the guy has probably played every primo Georgia course thousands of times. And so he might have the local advantage, but I am worried about his health.
Yeah, well, I am and I'm not. I mean, he's living in Houston right now. I mean, it's not that different. I mean,
Craig did the GIF. Craig's GIF is somewhat, it's in the chat.
I'm working on it, guys. I'm working on it.
While Nate works on that, I know you and I have a couple of weird ones. We'll just toss them out real quick. I'm Sam Burns again for me, and I like Berger, and I also like Louis, and I like Louis probably more than all three. That is awesome.
I love it,
dude. No, Craig, I love you, buddy. This is amazing.
Please save that and send it to me.
I will. I'll share the tweet with you.
The best. Craig Reith is the best gift maker there is.
Oh man, and he does it in like 5 seconds. Like boom, I got you.
Well, it's he has all of our faces like locked in.
I know.
Nate, when you get off of here, hop on my Facebook page and look at what my buddy here did to one of the pictures from the wedding.
Oh God. Okay, I'll look.
Tell me
I'm admittedly hardly on Facebook, but
I'll find it and send it to you.
I tried to put Louis Oosthuizen in some of my lineups, and I just couldn't hit the submit button. So sell me on Louis.
I can't, other than the fact that he's just pretty middling on everything, but he was trending so well, and he took a few weeks off and prepped for this. I'm working under the assumption that Louis has been busting his ass to be ready to win this. And I know he's got a long way to climb on the leaderboard, but you don't just play, and then take 2 weeks off and then try and, jump back in. And, the guy skipped the Olympics to try and make this happen. So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, another one I'm worried about health, but as far as a play and a fit on the course, it's right. Yeah,
and then with the deal with Berger is just that guy that's going to be accurate on drive, accurate on approach, consistent. And if it becomes a bogey avoidance type of situation, Berger's probably your dude. He's not going to go out and run off birdie streaks typically. I mean, he can. But typically, he's just more of a steady Eddie that will, get his birdies where he can, keep it to par, not get into a whole ton of trouble. And and his DK points reflect that. I mean, he's like 26 in the field for the 20, for DK points. So it's like it's not a glowing endorsement, but at $5,800, I think you can do a hell of a lot worse than Berger.
I bet you he's gonna have one of the lowest ownership percentages of anybody up to 30.
He's actually 27% right now.
Oh,
Connor, actually,
I'm off. I'm out then. Yeah, screw that.
If you want ownership leverage plays, Cantlay. What do you think Cantlay's ownership is?
I can't imagine it's that low with him having the 10 shot on 10 under for the tournament.
12.8%. He's the third lowest in the field ownership.
But how?
That's a great question. This is based on over 3,500 lineups being generated.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I might have to put some in because his game fits this course really well. I mean, for driving accuracy, his approach accuracy sucks, but the guy's literally on fire. So I mean, you can't ignore a guy that just won last week and
has a minimum 2-stroke lead.
Yeah, 10 under starting, and he hits every fairway. Like I don't think he's missed a fairway since NAM.
And then if you want another play for ownership leverage, everybody's forgotten favorite golfer Jordan Spieth is coming in at 11%. And
another prior champion.
Yep. And
there we go.
I don't trust Spieth off the tee so much, but I trust Spieth will magically somehow find the green under regulation or in regulation, and on top of that, dude is solid with a putter.
Make every putt from everywhere on the course. Like he just putt from inside 200 yards and just make them all.
Exactly. So those are mine. I know you had two, and then we can wrap her up.
So yeah, I had two guys that I was kind of floating out there below the, like you had two guys that were under 6K, and so I went kind of that direction since my four top guys are all kind of the mid tier, except for Rahm. It's for me, it's Corey Connors, the Canadian, straight as an arrow hitter, very consistent. Bogey avoidance is really good, and no cut event. I'm not worried about him like blowing up on me, and just missing the cut and killing my lineup. And at 6,200, I'm more than happy playing a guy who's a very straight hitter. He's not going to kill himself on this course. And then Joaquin Niemann again. This one was tough for me, but his price is so low at 56 that I was like, he's too good and too accurate for that price to not return a value. And I'm sure that his price being that low means his ownership is up because a lot of guys are trying to fit in some of these guys that are 10,000 plus, 12,000 plus in this weekly pricing. But I like Niemann's game. He's a straight hitter again. Like I'm looking for guys that hit the fairway and hit the green. And they don't have to be the best putters. They just have to stay out of trouble. Stay out of trouble. Don't get bogeys. Put together pars. Make a couple birdies here and there. Just don't beat yourself.
I love it.
Yeah, I like both of those. I'm with you. Like I like Niemann, and he's actually coming in sub 20, so that's not bad given a 30-man field. So yeah,
for sure. What do you think about the old Canadian there?
I like everything you said. I just don't trust the guy's putter. I'm not pumped about a 28% Corey Connors. Like I've learned my lesson with Corey Connors. Chalk Corey Connors is a Corey Connors I don't want to touch. But I all the points you made are valid with him. Like,
yeah. Well, I pick based on everything except for ownership. I rely on you for the ownership, and so making certain pivots, I might make a couple pivots off Connors in a few lineups because of that. But I'm still going to have him in a lot. I'm still going to have him because of the price point, and I think the price point is the main factor here with why he's at 28%.
Well, and I think there's some really unique ways that you can bottom stack and get some diversity up top. Like you can actually reverse eat the chalk, right? Like you go with go with the chalk low end and play the pivot top end. Like there's a lot of ways you can get Cantlay, Spieth, and like DJ or Rory into one lineup and build out a pretty good return on points at the bottom with some of these guys that are chalk. So,
or you can play my lineup, which is all under everybody except for Ram is under 10,000.
Yeah, which I don't hate that.
Yeah.
So,
I like that. Sounds like a lineup I could build. If
you're giving me Abraham Answer at 96 and Colin Morikawa at 8,300, are you kidding me? like, are you kidding me right now? Everything we have guys at 13,000 right now. Like, what is going on here? Is you have 5,000 between Patrick Cantlay and Colin Morikawa, who I think are the same player, just with different spectrums.
Well, no, and I'm with you. Like some of the pricing is wonky as hell. Like when you think about the way the points are going to shake out this week in a no cut event, and I mean, there's weird ownership slides too going on. Like Cam Smith, who's been like max chalk for weeks, is sub 20%. He's lower owned than Joaquin Niemann. Now, get the pricing is at 10-1. He's high up there, but this is a guy that's been competing week in, week out. Nobody wants to play him now, and then you slide.
He's our favorite guy. He's the guy that we share as our favorite. So
exactly. And then you slide down and like nobody wants to play DeChambeau at 12-3. Again, I get it. But DeChambeau
actually smart.
but maybe it isn't, because DeChambeau tore apart Winged Foot, and that might be the most similar. That's rough wise, like penalty of landing in the rough or going through the fairway. That thing played at 5.5 inches of rough depth. I mean, if you want a comparison for being able to muscle the ball out and still get up and down, like that's a pretty good example.
Winged Foot's not fast like East Lake.
No, it's not. But I'm saying when you look at Bryson's style of play, my argument's always that his bomb and gouge doesn't work when you're dealing with like deep rough and things like that, or you're dealing with needing accuracy. Well, this week, deep rough isn't going to be a penalty to him necessarily. So maybe the bomb and gouge does work this week. And I'm just, hypothesizing because he didn't have this distance last time around. So we'll see, but also not saying play him.
No. And I'm looking at him going, okay, where has he struggled? Those are shot maker courses. There's a difference between accuracy courses and shot maker courses. He struggles at TPC Sawgrass because you have to think your way around the golf course. You have to plan your shots in advance. East Lake is a lot like that. You have to set yourself up a certain yardages. You can't just say, I want the shortest club into every green, which is his game. And so the shortest club at East Lake isn't going to be the right club most of these holes. And so I'm off DeChambeau completely, and I understand why he's only 12% owned, because like this course might be the course where he can't scramble at all. Like you get him in greenside rough, and he's the worst I've ever seen. Like it's bad.
Oh no, yeah, and don't take what I'm saying is I'm going to play DeChambeau. I'm just making a comparison. Right. If you're looking for some weird leverage plays and you're mass entering, like you can make an argument that he has some skill sets that he's fifth lowest in the field for ownership. You can make an argument that gives you box out what? Couple 200,000-300,000 people by playing him. So it's if you want to gamble, which is what we're all doing.
Yeah, I love
it. So but yeah, anyways, there's a lot of guys you can play this week. I mean, the upshot of this tournament is really that it's anybody's to win. It's kind of a unique format, not my favorite format, but it's unique. There'll be some good drama, I think, this weekend.
Hey, at least it's not the international Stabler system that we had in Castle Rock.
The Stableford?
Stableford.
They have the same thing at their tournament here in Truckee in Northern California. They have Stableford too, and it's wild.
It's a wild system, and it's interesting. I actually got to go to that tournament a couple times when I was a kid, and they play differently because of the scoring system. Oh, yeah. Watching Greg Norman pick up after his second putt on the 17th at Castle Rock, at Castle Pines, he was so frustrated because he had taken him 4 shots to get to the green. He's like, well, it doesn't matter at this point. It's -3 points anyway, picking the ball up. So, all right, guys. It's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed this. It's been my Tuesday nights with Connor. Then it was my Tuesday nights with Conor and Bo.
And then it was marriage counseling for Bo and Connor.
Cheers, guys. Oh yeah, there's my top 4.
Nate, do you have a hot take you got to pick for the week? Just throwing one out there.
I'm gonna go with Jose Maria Olazabal.
Love it, Tiger. I'll take Tiger Woods.
Tiger Woods, Jose Maria Olazabal. Bo, who you got? Who's your hot take this week?
One of my favorite guys that I've actually met. I'm going for Vijay Singh.
I love it. I was on the fence. I almost went Freddie Couples, but
I'd have been down for Freddie.
Yeah,
I love Vijay.
All right, boys.
Well, yep. Thank you, everyone who watched, listened, rewatched on Twitter, Periscope, Facebook, YouTube. We appreciate you for being here. It's been a blast, and we'll see you in 2022 for golf. And just wait for what we have coming for the NFL season. And I think we're out, guys. What do you think?
We're out. Cheers, boys.